The silencing of Aurora Station. The morning shift bells echoed through Aurora Station as Commander Lisa Zhang reviewed the daily mining reports. The asteroid facility had been humanity's most productive titanium extraction site for 12 years, home to 8,000 souls who had built a thriving community in the void between stars. Children attended school in the central hub, while their parents worked the mining rigs. The hydroponic gardens provided fresh vegetables that reminded everyone of Earth's green fields. Lisa stood at the observation deck, watching the cargo shuttles ferry precious metals to the orbital refineries. Her coffee steamed in the recycled air as she planned another routine day. The station operated like clockwork, every person knowing their role in keeping humanity's expansion alive. Aurora Station represented everything good about human determination and cooperation. The first sign of trouble came from Traffic Control Officer Jake Morrison. His voice crackled over the intercom with unusual tension. "Commander Zhang, to the bridge immediately. We have unidentified contacts on long-range sensors." Lisa set down her coffee and moved quickly through the corridors, noting how conversations stopped as she passed. The crew sensed something was wrong. On the bridge, Morrison pointed to the tactical display. 12 ships, ma'am. They appeared at the edge of sensor range about 10 minutes ago. Configuration unknown, and they're not responding to any communication attempts. The ships moved in perfect formation, their sleek hulls reflecting no light. They were larger than anything in human records, each vessel the size of a small moon. Lisa studied the sensor readings with growing concern. Any identification markers? Registration codes? Morrison shook his head. "Nothing, Commander. It's like they don't want to be identified." The ships continued their steady approach toward Aurora Station, maintaining radio silence despite repeated hails from human operators. Communications specialist Sarah Chen tried every known frequency and protocol. "Still no response, Commander. Either their equipment is incompatible or they're deliberately ignoring us." Lisa felt the first stirrings of real fear. In her 15 years of space service, she had never encountered vessels that showed such advanced technology, yet remained completely mysterious. The alien fleet reached Aurora Station's outer perimeter without any warning or negotiation. The lead ship, a massive dreadnought with flowing organic lines, positioned itself directly above the mining platform. Lisa watched in fascination and growing terror as the vessel's hull began to shift and change color, patterns of light dancing across its surface like living art. Then the killing began. Energy beams lanced down from the alien ships with surgical precision. The first target was the communications array, severing Aurora Station's connection to the outside universe. The second volley destroyed the defensive platforms that were never meant to fight a real war. Within minutes, the station's ability to call for help or defend itself was completely eliminated. Lisa grabbed the emergency communicator. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. All civilians to emergency shelters immediately." But the aliens were not interested in a fight. They wanted extermination. The third wave of energy beams targeted the residential sectors where families lived and children played. Explosions rippled through the station as atmosphere vented into space. The bridge shook violently as alien weapons found their mark. Lisa watched helplessly as entire sections of Aurora Station were systematically destroyed. The engineering deck where her husband worked disappeared in a ball of plasma fire. The school where her daughter attended classes was vaporized in seconds. 8,000 people reduced to debris and silence. Medical Officer David Kim burst onto the bridge, his uniform torn and bloody. "Commander, the medical bay is gone. Most of the civilian shelters have been breached. We're losing life support throughout the station." His voice broke as he delivered the terrible news. "I don't think there are many survivors left." Through the viewports, Lisa could see alien shuttles approaching the few intact sections of Aurora Station. The occupants were tall and graceful, with pale golden skin and eyes that glowed with inner light. They moved through the wreckage with scientific precision, collecting samples and recording everything they found. To them, this wasn't murder. It was research. The Kithaeron Empire had been expanding across the galaxy for centuries, cataloging species and claiming resources. They were not evil in the traditional sense, but they viewed other life forms as curiosities to be studied and preserved in their vast databases. Humans were simply the latest species to be documented before extinction. High Researcher Vexthan supervised the collection teams as they gathered human specimens. The species showed interesting adaptations to low-gravity environments and demonstrated crude but effective technology. Their emotional responses to the harvesting process provided valuable data about mammalian psychology. The research would contribute significantly to Kithaeron scientific knowledge. Lisa and the few surviving crew members retreated to the emergency command bunker deep within Aurora Station's core. The reinforced chamber had independent life support and communication equipment designed to survive catastrophic damage. As they sealed themselves inside, they could hear the sounds of alien machinery dismantling their home above them. "Commander," Morrison whispered, checking the security monitors, "they're taking everything. Our computers, our weapons, even samples of Alyus, her food." The aliens moved through Aurora Station like archaeologists studying an ancient ruin, carefully cataloging human technology and culture before disposing of it forever. Sarah Chen worked frantically at the communications console. "I'm trying to send a distress signal, but they're jamming everything. Wait, I think I can punch a narrow beam transmission through their interference." Her fingers flew over the controls as she encoded humanity's final message from Aurora Station. The transmission was brief but devastating. "This is Aurora Station to any human vessel. We are under attack by unknown aliens. They have destroyed our defenses and are systematically exterminating our population. Approximately 8,000 souls lost. The attackers appear to be conducting some kind of scientific harvest. They are cataloging our technology and taking samples of our people. This is not a military conquest. They are treating us like specimens in a laboratory." Lisa added her own message to the transmission. "To Earth Command and all human colonies, the aliens show no interest in communication or negotiation. They simply arrived and began killing. Their technology is far beyond ours, but they seem surprised by our attempts to resist. I think they expected us to be helpless. We're uploading all sensor data about their ships and weapons. Maybe someone can use this information to fight back." The narrow beam transmission pierced through the alien jamming and raced toward the nearest human outpost at light speed. It would take weeks to reach civilization, but it carried with it something the Kithaeron Empire had never encountered before: evidence of their atrocities and detailed intelligence about their capabilities, gathered by a dying species that refused to surrender quietly. Meanwhile, the alien research teams completed their systematic harvesting of Aurora Station. High Researcher Vexthan reviewed the collected data with satisfaction. The human species had shown typical mammalian responses to extinction stress, providing valuable psychological profiles for the Empire's databases. Their technology was primitive, but showed interesting creative adaptations. The final phase of the operation began as the Kithaeron ships positioned themselves around Aurora Station's remains. Massive energy projectors charged with enough power to completely vaporize the asteroid base. The Empire always cleaned up after their research expeditions, leaving no trace of the species they had studied. It was simply good scientific methodology. Lisa felt the first tremors as the alien weapons prepared to fire. The emergency bunker would not survive the complete destruction of Aurora Station. She looked at her surviving crew members, seeing her own determination reflected in their faces. They had done everything possible to warn humanity about this threat. "It's been an honor serving with you all," Lisa said quietly. The crew stood at attention as the alien weapons reached full charge. Outside their reinforced shelter, Aurora Station began to break apart under the incredible energies being directed against it. The home they had built among the stars was becoming a tomb, but Lisa's final transmission had already escaped into the void, carrying with it the seeds of the Kithaeron Empire's destruction. The aliens had made a fundamental miscalculation about human nature. They assumed that, like most species, humans would simply accept extinction as an unfortunate fact of galactic life. They had no concept of what happened when humanity got angry. 3 weeks later, the narrow-beam distress signal reached Proxima Base, humanity's closest military outpost. Admiral Robert Hawkins received the transmission while reviewing routine patrol reports. What he heard made his blood freeze. Aurora Station, with 8,000 civilians, had been completely destroyed by unknown aliens who treated human beings like laboratory animals. The Admiral immediately forwarded the message to Earth Command with the highest priority classification. Within hours, emergency sessions convened in every major government on Earth. The footage from Aurora Station's final moments played on every screen, showing systematic extermination conducted with scientific precision by beings who viewed humans as nothing more than interesting specimens. President Maria Santos addressed the Global Defense Council with barely controlled rage. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have been served notice that our species is marked for extinction. These aliens didn't come to conquer us or steal our resources. They came to catalog us before wiping us out completely. This is not a war. This is pest control, and we are the pests." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every nation on Earth committed their entire military production to building the largest fleet in human history. Shipyards that had been building civilian vessels were converted to warship production. Scientific research programs were redirected toward developing new weapons and defensive systems. The entire human race mobilized for total war. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, Earth's leading xenobiology expert, studied the alien technology captured in Aurora Station's sensor records. "Their ships show organic design principles," she explained to the military leadership. "They've evolved their technology rather than engineering it. That gives them incredible adaptability, but it also means they think in predictable patterns. We can use that against them." The Catharan Empire had no idea that their routine harvesting expedition had awakened something unprecedented in galactic history. For the first time, they had encountered a species that would not accept extinction quietly. Humanity was about to teach the galaxy a lesson about the price of underestimating those who had nothing left to lose. Military factories across Earth worked around the clock, building ships designed specifically to hunt aliens who treated humans like laboratory specimens. The fleet that emerged from humanity's shipyards was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. These were not exploration vessels or trade ships. They were instruments of retribution, built by a species that had learned the hard way that in the universe, only the strong survived. Admiral Hawkins received command of the Retribution Fleet, the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Standing on the bridge of the flagship Vengeance, he studied the tactical displays showing Aurora Station's destruction. 8,000 innocent people had died to provide humanity with intelligence about their enemy. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. The fleet prepared to depart for Catharan space, carrying with it the concentrated fury of an entire species. The aliens had wanted to study human psychology under extreme stress. They were about to get a practical demonstration of what happened when humans stopped playing nice and started playing for keeps. When humans stopped playing nice, thus, a retribution fleet departed Earth space with more firepower than humanity had ever assembled in one place. Admiral Robert Hawkins stood on the bridge of the flagship Vengeance, watching 500 warships arrange themselves in attack formation. Each vessel had been built with one purpose: to make the aliens who destroyed Aurora Station pay for their arrogance. Dr. Jennifer Walsh worked alongside the military commanders. Her xenobiology expertise now focused on finding ways to hurt beings who treated humans like laboratory specimens. "Their organic technology means they heal and adapt quickly," she explained to the tactical team. "But it also means they have biological vulnerabilities we can exploit. They're not machines. They can feel pain, fear, and desperation, just like us." The journey to Catharan space took 6 weeks at maximum hyperspace velocity. During the transit, human engineers worked continuously to upgrade the fleet's weapons systems. They had studied every second of sensor data from Aurora Station's destruction, learning how alien shields functioned and where their ships showed structural weaknesses. The aliens had been very thorough in documenting their own technology while exterminating humans. Intelligence Officer Marcus Torres briefed the fleet commanders on what they knew about Kitharan society. They're scientists first, warriors second. Their entire civilization is built around collecting and cataloging information about other species. They've been expanding across the galaxy for over 1,000 years, studying civilizations before making them extinct. Captain Sarah Mitchell, commanding the destroyer Retribution, studied the tactical assessments with growing anger. So they're basically cosmic serial killers with advanced degrees. They murder entire species for their research papers. The human officers shared her disgust. They were fighting beings who committed genocide as a hobby. The Kitharan Empire had no idea that their routine specimen collection at Aurora Station had triggered a massive military response. High researcher Vexthon submitted his findings to the Imperial Science Council with professional satisfaction. The human species had shown interesting adaptive behaviors under extinction stress, providing valuable data about mammalian psychology. Emperor Thixel reviewed the research reports from dozens of harvesting expeditions conducted across the galaxy. The Kitharan Empire's vast databases contained detailed studies of thousands of extinct civilizations. Each species had contributed to their understanding of biological diversity before being eliminated to prevent interference with future research. The Imperial Science Council debated the allocation of resources for their next research expedition. Several promising species had been identified in nearby sectors, including some that showed unusual technological development. The systematic study and preservation of galactic biodiversity was the Empire's greatest contribution to universal knowledge. But the Empire's vast intelligence network had detected unusual activity in the human sectors. Ships were massing at industrial centers, and communication traffic had increased dramatically. The pattern suggested either a civil war or preparation for external conflict. The data was forwarded to military analysts for evaluation. Commander Zelthan of the Imperial Fleet reviewed the human activity reports with mild interest. Most species showed increased aggression after harvesting expeditions eliminated their frontier colonies. It was a predictable psychological response that usually resulted in ineffective retaliation attempts. The Imperial Fleet had centuries of experience in dealing with such reactions. The Retribution Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Kitharan territory, like an avenging storm. Admiral Hawkins deployed his ships in a search pattern designed to locate alien installations and military assets. Unlike the Kitharans, humans had not come to study their enemies, they had come to destroy them. The first contact occurred at Research Station Kythe 4, a facility where alien scientists conducted biological experiments on specimens collected from across the galaxy. The station's automated defenses activated as human ships approached, launching plasma missiles and energy beams that could vaporize most vessels in seconds. Captain Mitchell's destroyer Retribution absorbed the alien weapons fire with minimal damage. Human ships had been designed specifically to counter Kitharan technology based on the sensor data from Aurora Station. Their armor adapted to energy attacks, and their shields dispersed plasma impacts across multiple redundant systems. "All weapons, fire at will," Mitchell ordered as her ship closed range with the research station. The destroyer's main guns were not the elegant energy weapons favored by the Kitharans. They were simple but devastating kinetic projectiles that punched through alien hulls like paper. The research station exploded in a ball of superheated metal and organic compounds. But the real message came when human boarding teams found the station's specimen storage areas. Thousands of beings from dozens of species were kept in preservation chambers, their bodies and cultures reduced to scientific samples. The discovery was broadcast to every ship in the human fleet, fueling their anger to incandescent levels. Admiral Hawkins addressed the entire fleet over the communication network. "We now know exactly what we're fighting. These aliens don't just kill civilizations. They collect them like trophies. Every species they've encountered has ended up in their specimen jars. Today, that ends. The systematic destruction of Kithaeron research facilities began immediately. Human ships moved through alien space like avenging angels, seeking out every installation connected to the Empire's harvesting program. They were not interested in military targets or strategic objectives. They wanted to destroy the aliens' ability to treat other species like laboratory animals. High Researcher Vexthon received emergency communications from research stations across the border regions. Facilities that had operated safely for centuries were being attacked by ships of unknown configuration. The attackers showed no interest in negotiation or specimen collection. They simply arrived and began destroying everything. The attackers appear to be using crude kinetic weapons, reported Station Commander Ixthal from Research Facility Kythe-12. Their technology is primitive compared to our energy systems, but they're somehow penetrating our defenses. We're detecting massive structural damage to our primary laboratories. The communication ended abruptly as human warships reduced the facility to expanding clouds of debris. Similar reports arrived from installations throughout the region. The Kithaeron research network was being systematically dismantled by beings who should have been nothing more than archived specimens. Emperor Thixal convened an emergency session of the Imperial Council as reports of the attacks reached the capital. For the first time in centuries, the Empire faced an enemy that was actively hunting them. The pattern of attacks suggested intimate knowledge of Kythaeron operations and facilities. The attackers are specifically targeting our research infrastructure, reported Intelligence Coordinator Vethax. They're ignoring military installations and civilian settlements. Somehow they know exactly which facilities are involved in specimen collection and harvesting opened. Rations. Defense Minister Kithran studied the tactical reports with growing concern. Their weapons technology is inferior to ours, but their ships show unprecedented adaptability. Every time our forces engage them, they seem to learn and counter our advantages more effectively. Dr. Walsh monitored the battle reports from her station aboard the Vengeance, noting how quickly human technology was adapting to alien countermeasures. They're trying to modify their weapons to penetrate our defenses, she explained to Admiral Hawkins. But our ships are learning faster than they can adapt. Every engagement makes us stronger. The psychological warfare began during the attack on Research Complex Kythe Prime, the Empire's largest specimen storage facility. Human forces didn't simply destroy the installation. They broadcast detailed recordings of what they found inside to every communication network in Kithaeron space. The footage showed thousands of preserved beings from extinct civilizations, their cultures and histories reduced to catalog entries in alien databases. Children from dozens of species were displayed like museum pieces, their final moments recorded for scientific analysis. The Empire's systematic genocide was exposed for all to see. Captain Torres led the intelligence warfare campaign, using captured alien communication networks to flood Kithaeron space with evidence of their crimes. "Let's see how they like being studied and analyzed," he said, as human broadcasts reached every planet in the Empire. The aliens who prided themselves on scientific objectivity were experiencing the psychological pressure of being hunted. The Kithaeron military finally responded to the crisis by deploying their main battle fleet. Admiral Zexthal commanded 300 of the Empire's most advanced warships, each one equipped with weapons that could sterilize entire planets. The fleet had never suffered a defeat in over 5 centuries of expansion. The confrontation occurred at the Nexus system, where major hyperspace routes intersected near the Empire's core worlds. Admiral Hawkins positioned the Retribution fleet to block access to the inner systems, while Admiral Zexthal approached with overwhelming numerical superiority and technological advantage. "Human vessels, you are in violation of Imperial space," Zexthal broadcast on standard communication frequencies. "Withdraw immediately or face annihilation. The Kithaeron Empire does not tolerate interference with legitimate scientific research activities." Admiral Hawkins responded with barely controlled fury. Scientific research? You call genocide scientific research? Aurora Station contained 8,000 innocent people, men, women, and children who were living their lives in peace until you decided to add them to your specimen collection. The alien admiral seemed genuinely confused by the human emotional response. The Aurora Station harvesting was conducted according to standard protocols. All specimens were properly preserved and cataloged. The data collected will contribute significantly to our understanding of mammalian evolutionary patterns. You sick bastards actually think you did us a favor, Hawkins realized with horrified amazement. You murdered 8,000 people, and you consider it a contribution to science. Well, Admiral, today you're going to contribute to human understanding of how aliens die. The Battle of Nexus system began as alien plasma weapons lit up the void between star systems. Kitharan energy beams that could slice through planets found themselves absorbed and dispersed by human defensive systems. The aliens had spent centuries perfecting weapons designed to eliminate inferior civilizations. They had never fought an enemy that refused to stay inferior. Human kinetic weapons responded with devastating effect. Simple metal slugs, accelerated to significant fractions of light speed, punched through alien hulls designed to deflect energy attacks. The Catharans watched in shock as their technologically superior vessels were systematically destroyed by weapons they considered primitive. Admiral Zexthal's flagship shuddered under repeated impacts from human projectile weapons. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" he demanded from his tactical officers. "Our shields are specifically designed to counter kinetic attacks." The answer came as human ships demonstrated their true capability. Each vessel was equipped with adaptive systems that learned from every attack and defense they encountered. The longer the battle continued, the more effective human weapons became. They were fighting an enemy that got stronger with every exchange of fire. Dr. Walsh monitored the engagement from her battle analysis station, watching as human technology evolved in real time. "They're trying to adapt their defenses to our weapons," she reported to Admiral Hawkins. "But they're thinking in terms of static improvements. Our systems are learning exponentially." The turning point came when Captain Mitchell's destroyer Retribution rammed through the alien battle line, its adapted armor absorbing plasma fire that should have vaporized any ship. The destroyer's weapons had evolved during the battle to specifically counter Kytheran shielding technology, turning their own defensive systems against them. Admiral Zexthal watched his fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy he had expected to crush within minutes. The humans were not fighting like any species in the Kytheran databases. They were fighting like something entirely new, something the Empire had never encountered before. "All ships, withdraw to defensive positions," Zexthal ordered as his formation collapsed under human assault. "We need to reassess their sea-ape abilities and develop appropriate countermeasures." But even as he gave the retreat order, he knew something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. The Kytheran Empire had built their civilization on the assumption that they were the apex species, the ultimate predators who could harvest any civilization with impunity. They had cataloged thousands of species, documenting their cultures before making them extinct. None had ever fought back effectively. Emperor Thexal received Admiral Zexthal's battle report with growing disbelief. The Imperial fleet had suffered its first defeat in centuries at the hands of a species they had considered barely worthy of specimen collection. The humans had not just resisted annihilation, they had turned the tables and become the hunters. "The human vessels show unprecedented adaptability," Zexthal reported to the Imperial Council. "Their technology evolves during combat, becoming more effective with each engagement. They're not fighting to defend territory or resources, they're fighting to eliminate us completely." The Emperor studied the tactical recordings of human ships systematically destroying Kytheran vessels. Their weapons were crude but devastatingly effective. More importantly, their entire approach to warfare was unlike anything in the Empire's military databases. "They're not trying to conquer us," the Emperor realized with growing alarm. "They're trying to exterminate us. They're using our own methods against us." For the first time in the Empire's history, the Kitharans faced an enemy that wanted them completely extinct. Admiral Hawkins received the alien surrender offer, while his fleet regrouped after the battle. The message was transmitted on all frequencies, reaching every human ship simultaneously. Emperor Thicksal himself appeared on the communication screens, his golden skin pale with defeat. Human military commanders, the Kitharan Empire requests immediate ceasefire negotiations. We acknowledge that our harvesting activities may have caused unintended psychological distress to your species. We are prepared to discuss reparations and territorial boundaries that will prevent future conflicts. The Emperor's words revealed everything wrong with alien thinking. They still considered the extermination of Aurora Station a harvesting activity that had caused psychological distress rather than an act of genocide. They genuinely could not understand why humans were so angry about having their species catalogued for extinction. Admiral Hawkins consulted with his senior officers before responding. The debate was brief and unanimous. Captain Mitchell spoke for the entire fleet when she said, "They still don't get it. They think this is about territory or resources. They don't understand that they crossed a line that can't be uncrossed." The human response to the surrender offer was broadcast throughout Kitharan space, ensuring that every alien civilian and military commander could hear humanity's terms. Admiral Hawkins spoke with the cold precision of absolute certainty. "Emperor Thicksal, you seem to be under the impression that this is a negotiable situation. It is not. You turned 8,000 innocent people into specimens for your scientific collection. You have committed genocide against thousands of species across the galaxy for your research projects. There will be no reparations, no territorial agreements, and no negotiations." The Admiral paused, letting his words sink in across the communication networks of an empire that had never been threatened with extinction. "You wanted to study human psychology under extreme stress. You wanted to see how our species reacts when faced with annihilation. Congratulations, Emperor. You're about to get all the data you can handle." The Emperor's final transmission was barely a whisper as the magnitude of his mistake became clear. "What do you want from us?" Admiral Hawkins smiled without warmth, but as he delivered humanity's judgment on the Kitharan Empire. "We want you to understand exactly how Aurora Station felt when your ships arrived. We want you to experience the same helplessness, the same terror, the same certainty that your civilization is about to become nothing more than a memory. You taught us that in this galaxy, only the strong survive." Class dismissed. The Retribution fleet resumed its advance toward the core worlds of the Kitharan Empire, carrying with it the concentrated fury of a species that had learned the hardest lesson in the universe. In the cosmos, there were predators and there were prey. The aliens had made the fatal mistake of assuming they knew which category humans belonged in.